Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church is Stupid, Part 2 of the week.
Comma, but.
Well, there's a comma, but it just was implied. I just didn't say it that time.
Okay,
because I was going to be like, hi, guys, this is Church is Stupid.
Comma, but.
And I have to make all my big hand gestures, and so it makes it very extra and very me.
But now we're here.
Yes. For those of you who didn't listen to Part 1 this week, we are talking about Christmas.
Christmas!
And the funny traditions and exclusions that happened around Christmas time.
Da, da, da.
And we talked a lot about candles and the tradition of candles in the church. I'm giving...
Can we do a candle store? And all the different candle scents you can get at Christmas.
We went to Yankee Candle.
This is the Bed Bath
We're
& Beyond
ready.
episode.
This episode of Church is Stupid.
We are the Christmas stockings now.
I was making a Christmas stocking yesterday before the recording of the service.
Oh, fun. So we have to introduce ourselves.
yeah,
the basics,
that's important.
the basics so that people know a little bit. Try and tie a name to a voice. I am Andrew Hahn or Andy Hahn.
I am Ruth, still Ruth.
I'm Elijah. I think I'm still Elijah.
Well, that's great. I didn't start my timer for this, so we're
I
going to have
did.
to wing. Okay, great. I don't have to keep track of time then.
I did something useful.
Somebody else can wrap us up this time, and I won't have to do
Cheez-Its
it.
and Cracker Jacks. I shouldn't have done something useful.
So,
We're off to a great start.
yeah, we're really killing it so far. First minute in, nothing relevant said.
0.
All right.
2 minutes, actually. Continue.
Well, I don't have a timer in front of me, so
Yeah, I do.
So it's Christmas time.
you are correct.
Also,
Ruth.
today is Christmas Eve, so Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas.
Tomorrow!
And
It still counts.
this is coming out at 5 p.m. on Christmas, so I hope that you are either joining a Christmas service online or finding a way other than just this podcast to find your Jesus today.
Oh, yeah. Please find a different way. Don't rely on us.
Oh, jeez. And we do have, actually, on Midland First UMC's Facebook page, that's Midland, Michigan, not Texas, have made that mistake before.
Me too.
We have 2 services that have yet to premiere. We have one coming out at 7 p.m.
We have one coming out right now when this is coming out.
Oh, we have one coming out literally as we're talking. I forgot. That's
No, but stay here.
yeah. Don't go now. Like that was
Yeah, actually, I rescind my statement. Definitely
I
stay
rescind
here.
my statement. We aren't doing anything for Christmas Eve.
I was about to say, oh, that one doesn't count, and then I was like, oh no, poor John and Abby.
You're in that
I
one.
know. I sing Silent Night in that one, actually. But no, we have 3 services we offer. We have the 5 p.m. family service, which again, don't leave us just yet, but you can watch it after. It's fine. And that's we do it all in pajamas, and John and Abby lead that, and they do a wonderful job. Also, I hear the singing is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Do you?
just on point. It's actually rather adequate, but it's fine. Well, Heidi did wonderfully.
Yes, she did.
It's just me. Anyhow, then our 7 p.m. is our traditional style service. Is that what we're calling it?
I think so.
Which has how long is that one actually?
I don't know. I don't have all the pieces yet.
Oh, that one hasn't been finished yet. Never mind.
I don't think it's been recorded yet.
I'm behind.
Any parts of it.
All right. And then we have our 11 p.m., which is a little bit more of a contemporary one, and we're really calling that our story-based service. So it's kind of walking through the scriptures
A
that
very
lead up.
zoomy Christmas is the name that I have dubbed it.
That's the name I gave of the Kids Minute the other week.
Is it?
It is, but we can keep a very zoomy Christmas. It can be.
I like a very zoomy
I know,
Christmas.
it's really a great name. Anyhow, so those services, Elijah is looking in horror in the background. Those services are available on Midland First's Facebook page, I think their website and YouTube as well. Am I
Yes,
correct on
all
this?
of those things. I don't know about the website because we've had some technical issues,
Okay.
but they are definitely on the new YouTube channel for them because of other technical issues, and on the Facebook page. But now that we're past the PR part of this,
Yes.
Yes.
3
sorry
minutes
about
later.
that. It was a sidetrack rant that we all got knocked down the rabbit hole, and
Now that we're done with that, let's dive into the real topic. Christmas or happy holidays?
that's a good one to talk about.
Andy says that because he came up with it.
I definitely
just
did
want
come up
that
with
I definitely just
noted.
stole that
He
light
was
from
like-
you.
You like were giving props to
I
Elijah.
looked
but
right. I
actually
looked right into his
yourself.
eyes, and I stole it from him, and he knew.
If you didn't bring it up, I was gonna bring it up in the next couple of seconds there.
I couldn't trust anyone. We took too long.
We
Anyways,
definitely did.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So we have these two types of phrases around this time that gets brought up a lot.
Mhm.
Do you say Happy Holidays or Merry Christmas? This is a question to you too.
This is a question.
Oh, like personally, what do I
Yeah.
say? In what context are we talking about? Like just in general?
In general.
I mean, I've always said Merry Christmas, but in no way, shape, or form. If somebody says like Happy Holidays to me, I probably would respond Happy Holidays.
Mhm.
It just kind of depends who I'm talking to. Yeah.
I'm familiar with Merry Christmas. That's my default. It's what I automatically go to. That's what I say, and in no way do I ever say it with any other intention other than I hope you're having a wonderful holiday.
Yeah.
You know, and like Ruth said, if someone just if someone says Happy Holidays to me, whether or not they're making it apparent that like it's their preference or not, I mean, it doesn't matter
Happy
to me.
holiday.
Yeah,
No,
you know,
I'm not-
I'll
I'm not
reply with
meaning that
Happy
derogatory.
Holidays.
I'm not meaning that derogatory. I was just giving an example, okay?
Wow.
I'm sorry. You were
I
saying
don't know.
sorry.
No, you're good. I'm just saying. If I'm being honest, guys, none of it means anything to me.
Mhm.
I default to Merry
Yeah.
Christmas because I grew up with Christmas.
Mhm.
Some people don't, and if they say Happy Holidays, if you say Happy Holidays, why the heck does that even matter? None of it matters.
But it really matters to some people.
It really does matter to some
But
people.
before we get too into that, Andy, what about you?
I default to happy. I
That's
default.
one. I haven't heard that one yet.
I haven't said
New
that
one.
one in a long
Yeah.
time, honestly.
Yeah.
Then I guess it's not too much of a default.
I default
Yeah.
to Happy Holidays, honestly.
See, if someone were to say that to me, though, then I would be really offended.
Happy dib
Yeah, that would definitely ruin my day.
Do you just end a sentence with a stutter? Are you okay? But yes, because of my time spent in East Lansing in the college town census, it just kind of has become my default to do Happy Holidays when I'm like outside of the home or anything
Yep.
like that. And it's not even like to avoid offending people. It's like
It's just
I'm
what
not
you
going to
say.
push what I'm going to say on you. Like it's like
Yeah.
it just kind of is what culture kind of has come.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's like a greeting. One of the things.
It's like a greeting.
Sorry, no. I'm sorry. I'm
It is a
expounding.
It is a greeting. It's
Thanks,
what
Andy.
it is.
No, so like me and my mom, we always kind of fight over, and hopefully she doesn't listen to this and yell at me. It's fine.
She will.
When the proper response to thank you,
Mhm.
and for our generation, it's like no worries
Mhm.
or
Yeah, no problem, no worries. Yeah.
nothing, something like that. Whereas if it can really bother some people who are older if you don't say you're welcome,
Mhm.
and I'm like, why? It's the same, but is that kind of what
Yeah,
it is?
it's like essentially
just
the same thing.
automatic. Like if somebody says, "Hey, thanks," I'll probably say no problem, like
Yeah.
without thinking.
I think I'm on that same exact train of that. Yeah.
I think it's pretty normal, especially especially amongst younger people. I think no problem as it just equates to thank you.
Mhm.
In my head, I mean, of course, yeah. There's some
Well,
there's some wiggle room there, but I mean,
And
most
that's
of the
the
time,
way it's kind of going with Happy Holidays versus Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, for a long time, when America was founded, the United States of America, my apologies, when the country kind of began, there was a lot of property problems that were tied up with the Christian church. So if you wanted to own property in a lot of these places, you had to be a member of church.
yeah.
And so while the country itself was not founded, and this is going to be a controversial statement, so Merry Christmas, everyone. It was actually not founded to be a Christian nation. It was founded on the premise of religious freedom. There were a lot of colonies that decided to make property ownership tied to church membership. And so Christianity sort of became the dominant culture. And so I think Merry Christmas just was the default for a long time, and
Yeah.
now it's just sort of shifting.
Well, and I don't know how new this phrase of Happy Holidays
it's not new.
No, I mean, I know it's not new, like in that essence. but,
Right.
like before now, it like even before the 2000s, I think there hasn't been much issue with the idea of expressing Merry Christmas to somebody because that was the default holiday expression.
It's a cultural shift. I'll have like 100%. I mean, I'm just adding on to
No,
you.
yeah,
Sorry.
you're perfectly fine. But I don't think there. I can do a quick Google if you guys want me to. But I don't think there's been issues really surrounding this idea. And I think more of the issues come to those of us who are completely attached to the words "Merry Christmas" for this time period.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think that it's and the premise, I understand the premise. I actually read an interesting book when I was in school.
I'd hope you read a lot.
There's only a few
interesting
that were
books.
interesting.
Okay.
No, but this one was talking about culture and how one of the ways to essentially undermine a religion and a faith is to make it completely irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you were to watch the show, I think the example they used in the book was Friends. They don't really even mention Christianity or church or things like that. It's like their whole world just exists completely out of this faith premise.
Mm-hmm.
And so it shows people that it's not important, when that's in what you're watching in the culture. You know what I mean? It just becomes not mentioned.
Yeah,
mean,
rather than
so-
outright rally against just to show a
Just
reality
to-
where it
just
doesn't
to-
matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's this fear that in taking away Merry Christmas, that's the same thing. That it should, not that the show Friends is bad. Not saying that. I watched Friends.
We're not going to dive
Sorry.
into that topic.
Sorry,
let's avoid Friends.
sorry. Woo. Realized what I was saying there, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah, wow.
Well, we'll get controversial, but not
no,
that.
Not that
controversial.
controversial.
It's a real thing, especially in TV and advertisement. Avoiding religion, which is a controversial topic most of the time, sells your TV show, sells your
Yep.
whatever it is to a majority of different places other than Christianity. Like some movies are made as specific Christian movies. Like you have
Right.
Courageous,
Yep.
Joshua, I think, and like a few others, and those are just like two that I can name off the top of my head because
Heaven is for real.
yeah, there's a
God's
lot of
not
them.
dead. God's not dead
but their
2.
audience,
God's
their
not dead
audience,
3.
Like,
Oh, I was really hoping you weren't going to bring that up.
Smaller.
Sorry, Andrew.
Wait, me?
No, me.
Ruth.
But we see an increase around this time of holiday movies that involve this idea of Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of Hallmark movies, a lot of all this kind of stuff, and they base themselves on this idea of Merry Christmas. It's not Happy Holidays in those films, it's Merry Christmas. And I had an idea of where I was going with this topic, and I was really hoping somebody else would pick up.
We didn't. We're just letting you go.
Well,
Okay,
were you
well-
were you coattailing off the idea of not including something being viewed as undermining? Was that the?
I think that's
The
where
train
we
tracks you were
started,
on?
and I
Yeah.
have no idea where
Well,
my train went
okay.
from there.
And-
But Hallmark.
And honestly, I think that as Christians, we really are called to love our neighbors. And I don't see a problem with if somebody is really offended, like, I don't know. I guess I just don't see a problem with saying Happy Holidays. I don't think it's taking Christ out of Christmas. I think it's just being willing to meet your neighbor where they're at and love them there. Showing Christ to somebody doesn't always have to be. And there's a famous quote that's attributed to like so many people, but really nobody knows where it originated because it's not really. I think Francis of Assisi is the one who always gets attributed, but preach Christ and if necessary use words. I think we default the other way
Yeah.
way too often. We
Well,
think we have to use words all the time, and if our words aren't perfectly matched up with then we messed it up. But a lot of times it's our actions that really show Christ. And
Yeah.
so what are you doing when you yell at a cashier to say Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays? Do you really think that that's something that's showing the love of Christ, or is it more proving to yourself that you're saying the right words?
Well, I'll take that even a step further, and even an example that's less loud and apparent, but more underhanded. Like, what are you really showing someone if they are very intentionally saying Happy Holidays to you, and you kind of sneer and you say Merry Christmas, and then you walk away, and that's like you're not making a scene, but you're being that kind of person to somebody else. Like, what are you really showing in that moment?
And
Are
as
you-
somebody who worked in retail and somebody who says Merry Christmas, I mean, I
Yeah.
do. It's just, again, it's part of what I was raised with and just, but I have no problem with what people say back or anything. When people would come up and intentionally be snotty, and mind you, I went to school for ministry, would come through and be like, Merry Christmas? Like, I bet you guys can't say that because you're working I would
Which sounds like an
instantly-
exaggerated example,
Which
right?
sounds like an
Yeah.
example, but that happened to me on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
And as somebody who is a Christian, as somebody who's a pastor, it instantly turned me off. I was like, I don't really want to talk to you. Like, and I would say Happy Holidays because
Yeah.
it was just like, honestly, this is, and I think the intention again starts from a place. That's why I brought up the undermining thing. I think the intention comes from a good place because we want to include Christ in our lives. We don't want to see Christ leave our society, and we are Christians. We're called to minister for Christ. But I think we also have to think about how we're doing it, and
why we're doing it too.
and why, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that
If your motivations are completely whack in regards to the gospel,
Well,
and your
exactly.
motivation is just to spread the religion that you take part of and take no prisoners almost otherwise, then I mean, what is that really the example that you want to show by making everyone say Christmas and not holidays?
there's a difference between, and this is always the one that I come back, there's a difference between not living in fear of saying something like Merry Christmas instead of Happy Holidays or being so afraid of offending people and respecting other people.
Exactly.
And I think it's just respectful. You know, if somebody comes up to you and says Happy Hanukkah and you sneer at them and say Merry Christmas, that's very insulting.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no reason. But you can have friends, and I have friends outside of the faith who, like, they say Happy Holidays, I say Merry Christmas. It's not a big deal. Why do we always make these things such big deals? I guess that's where I'm coming
Well, I think
from.
we're making it a big deal.
That's
just
fair. It's
because
just us.
we do the extra part. We're like,
We are
we're going
extra.
to make everything a big deal no matter what it is.
Right.
And that's just so that we can fight both sides of it and have a conversation about it. Do we have more thoughts on this topic? Because if we don't, then I have another
I'll
place to
just
go, but I can make. it
well, I'll try to form an actual statement with the thought that I have, but I think a lot of it comes from the distinction or maybe the failure to distinct between the difference of having your faith in everything that you believe be under attack. You know, the distinction between that and someone who's just saying what they believe regardless of what you believe. I think a lot of people in a lot of different examples in terms of just like how people view themselves, but also applying to, like, you know, Christianity or any faith for that matter. I think a lot of people fail to remember that you're not the most important person on the planet, and that not even in a mean way, but a lot of people that you go throughout your day probably don't even think about you or pay attention to you that much. So if someone says Happy Holidays and you truly view that as, like, you know, an attack on who you are, I can almost guarantee you that it's not. And if it is, if you really do think, and maybe if someone actually really is trying to make a point that they think that what you're saying is wrong, then I think you have to really take a look at yourself and really think about what the
Why are
most
they coming at you?
Yeah.
I was going to say what the most Christ-like response to that would actually be, and what the actual proper mature adult response is. And I really don't believe that it's looking at someone, sneering at them, and saying it's Merry Christmas, and then thinking
the
that you
other
did the right
cheek.
thing.
Well,
We are
and,
called to turn the other cheek.
and just to wrap this up, are you getting another spam call?
I don't know why. People keep calling me that.
You
They know we're busy.
Must be that you're just so popular, Andy, amongst spam.
That's
And yeah,
really
just
that's
to wrap this up though, this part of the topic, so we can move on to whatever Andy's next time, which I don't know, so it's kind of frightening.
It's really good.
Just you can be a great Christian, say Merry Christmas all the time, and we're not saying don't say Merry Christmas. Again, I'm an avid Merry Christmas sayer.
Yeah, as am I.
And we're not here to try to judge a bunch of people for what you're doing. we're just trying to offer different perspectives and say, think about as well, not just yourself in that situation, but think about the other person and think about really what the gospel message is and what the most effective way to share that is.
Yeah.
And if you believe in your heart that you are doing what God has told you to do, and if you, again, examine that against Scripture, talk with the other people in the body of Christ. Sorry, I have to talk about these weird contingencies. Then,
it's important, though. Yeah.
That's what's important, is that you're following Christ. And so whether that's Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, or whatever, we're not here to judge. Just bring up some interesting things. Is that a fair summation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Sorry, I just wanted to add that caveat.
So today is Christmas Eve.
Yay!
And we have these services that we've talked about.
Yay!
And I think one of the most important things that come up, especially when bringing smaller kids or smaller children to Christmas Eve service,
no.
What is the required attire?
Oh, my dear sweet.
Is there required attire?
Do you want my answer that's snarky, or do you want the nice answer?
I want the snarky answer.
I think we go with both.
Yeah.
I think the nice answer is that it is nice to dress up your kids on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a fun thing as a family to get dressed up and do something just like, take a little cute pictures or something like that. We did it last year with Lily's first Christmas. Oh, she's so cute. She's such a little baby. Anyhow, but I have problems, okay? I love my child.
No, it's okay. You're allowed to love your child.
Anyhow, but my snarky response is, why does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
Why does it matter what you wear to church? If you're not welcome in church as you are, then we're doing something wrong. And I get it. I get the reverence thing, and I think that that's very important. And one thing that Protestant churches do terribly is reverence. We are not good at our God is more than just our BFF who gives us whatever we want. Mm-hmm. He is God to be revered and celebrated and praised. But when that becomes a hindrance to people feeling like they can't come, again, we've talked about this before in some of the episodes, when people tell me as a pastor that my clothes aren't really church clothes. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, that's a problem. That's a problem to me. That is an active hindrance to the ministry of Christ, because we should be inviting people in as they are to come and worship our God. And some people can't. It's very elitist. Mm-hmm. Some people
it's extremely
can't afford,
elitist.
People can't afford those all those nice clothes. When we moved to or when we were transitioning, moves are expensive, and I had gained quite a bit of weight. I used to weigh a lot less than I do now, but regardless, my clothes didn't fit, and I didn't have money to go buy a whole new wardrobe. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. And so I was stuck wearing dresses that were a little bit shorter than I probably normally would wear, but I would wear leggings or whatever. And people just didn't think about that. It was like, well, then why don't you go to Goodwill? Why don't you just go do this? And I'm like, you're not understanding that I literally don't have the money. I'm choosing between food and clothing. And I'm sorry, but food wins.
Amen.
And I was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
Say some people don't even have that luxury of even being able to choose.
And the whole message of the Gospels is to be there for the poor, to be there for the widows. I'm sorry, you really lit a fire here.
Yeah, this
I'm
was supposed to be like a nice fluff, we wear pajamas to church service, but no, okay.
You lit a fire, because this is
sleepover.
It's perfectly fine.
My hair.
Light your fire.
It's such an elitist mentality, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to offer God your best. That's wonderful. You do you. But for some people, their best looks a lot different than what you have. Mm-hmm. And for some people, their best is literally physically being able to drag themselves to church or to watch a service online, to maybe talk about Christ once in a while. Maybe that's the best they have right in that moment.
Yeah.
So who are you to look at somebody and tell them, is that really church appropriate? And that is the only reason it irritates me to no end, having to dress up to attend a Christmas Eve service.
Having to.
Yeah. It's that you have to.
Yeah.
If it wasn't a requirement, it wouldn't bother me. Mm-hmm. But I have heard of churches that measure girls' skirts before they're allowed to come into the building. And that's not 50 years ago. That's like last year.
Yeah.
And that is so disheartening.
Mm-hmm.
It's so disheartening to me. And I get it. Again, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to just yell and judge and blame, because I get the intention. But is that the thing we want to focus on as Christ followers?
Especially like during Christmas season, is that the thing that we
Right.
really want to
But
focus on?
where the theme is that this baby was born in the lowest possible position ever, literally ever.
Okay, just so that you guys know, because that was a very big audio spike from Ruth, she was trying to eat the microphone while she said
Yeah,
I
she
was.
said ever while she was
I was
eating the
super-
microphone.
I figured I'd justify
Emphasizing.
so that everybody knows.
But honestly, we have a God who was born as a king in a freaking manger, and you're sitting here saying, "I'm sorry, where's your Gucci suit?"
Here,
Please
let's
sit
say it
the
in modern
back."
terms, in a barn. Because even
Not
manger,
even a barn. I think
even
a-
manger,
No, a manger,
sounds
yeah.
nice though in the 21st century to Christians. I
It was
think
a
because of
food
what
trough
we,
for sheep.
yeah,
Yeah.
when we say manger, we associate it even now with heavenly,
Yeah.
like hay.
That's very fair. And it wasn't. It was literally just, imagine you're on one of those hay rides, only you can never leave, and you have to lay your baby to sleep in it.
You can never
You
leave.
can never leave. No, but that's where you sleep. Is in
Yeah.
and for some people, that's a reality. That's not something that, oh, maybe it happens in other countries. It happens here. And those people, if they want to come to church and they want to encounter God and Christ, and you look at them and you say, "I'm sorry, that's not really church appropriate, is it?" Do you think they're coming back?
Do you think they're finding God in what you just said? You know,
People struggle with this. People are hurt so much by this very silly topic. Why did you bring this up?
I'm
No, I
sorry,
just-
it was an accident.
It's okay. It wasn't an accident.
No, it was on purpose.
Well,
But
But it just breaks my heart, because our God wants to reach those people more than anything. And if you're one of those people who feels like you can't go to church because of the shame, because you'll get looked at and told you're not wearing the right stuff, you're not doing the right thing, our hearts go out to you here. And that's one of the reasons we started this podcast, because it hurts.
yeah,
It breaks my heart to the core that there are people who will look at other people and essentially say, "You are not welcome in the house of God."
yeah.
And if our God says that he tore the veil and let everybody in, which is scriptural, then who are any of us to say any different?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've calmed down. I'm
the
sorry.
steam
I'm
has
sorry.
started to
The
dissipate out of
fire is
the
not
ears.
coming out
this
of
is
the ears.
supposed to go on to the point of, what are you wearing for Christmas this year?
Oh wow, that was
Yeah,
I
I
I
was.
took that a different
No,
direction.
no. You're fine. That was like the second point to it, because like conventional years, and this is a year where everything is going to be online. So why isn't you're going to show up? You're going to show up in your living room in your normal dress, or maybe you're ready for bed because you're watching the 11 o'clock, and so you're in your PJs. Why isn't that what's normally acceptable? It is what's normally acceptable in my world, and in my past years as like a PK, I'll come to church service on Sunday, or not Sunday. Well, on Sunday, but on Christmas, because that's what I'm talking about. I'll come dressed in my PJs. I'll come dressed in shorts and a T-shirt. Like, I've come to the conclusion that my dress wear is not your priority.
So I wanted to bring that up
Which
right.
is a fight girls have been having for years. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, yeah, I wanted to kind of bring that point right before we closed, which was we talked about kind of like almost the worst of the worst examples when it comes to elitism, especially around Christmas time in the church. What about the examples in between, when rather than even if someone does have the ability to choose what they wear, what if people just don't want to dress up for Christmas Eve or church in general? I mean, maybe even church in general we could talk about, but I mean, we're pretty close to the end of our podcast. But well, it's pretty blatant that telling people who can't afford or have a really, really tough time being able to dress according to certain churches' code. We've already established, and it's pretty easy to tell that that's honestly that it's abhorrent to turn people away for that. What do we think about the choice. What do we think about people who have the choice, who simply don't think that it matters what you wear?
Amen. Welcome to the club. End of story.
I'm right there with you.
I'm gonna call you out and I'll play devil's advocate.
Okay.
And I think after I play devil's advocate, I'm gonna open it up to the comment section to let
Yeah,
people
yeah,
have
That's
the
a good-
discussion.
that's a good
there, 'cause
idea.
We're pretty close to out of time. We're past overtime.
Yeah, we do. It's okay.
But there's this idea that God calls for your best, and it's not even like He calls you to come as you are, but a lot of times we consider offering our best for God.
Okay.
Like and that's not even to say like you need to come dressed in a suit, but it's to like say, you shouldn't be. I mean, I'm not even saying like you shouldn't be rolling out of bed and coming to church. Like roll out of bed, come to church. But it's this idea of you're coming to offer your God who you are. So this idea of offering your best.
Yeah, and a lot
Well-
of people, I think, at least attribute attire to that as well, which Ruth said it earlier, and I think it's, again, another distinction that's important to make is the idea of reverence isn't bad. If anything, I think it's actually important.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of reverence for the God that we believe in. Not everyone's idea of that is applied the same way, though. Some people do truly find that that dressing nicely for something like Christmas Eve is their example in their way of showing their like the reverence that they're respecting or a way of them actually applying this idea of being their best. For some people, it's not, and I think that it is important to not shame anyone who actually does want to dress nice, and maybe even someone who does prefer services to be nice services like that. I don't think that you should shame people just on that base alone. The point where it gets unhealthy, and I will say, unchristlike, is when you really start to shame other people, and like Ruth definitely hammered home, when you turn other people away for not being
Your standard of God.
Your standard, or on the page that you're on, to not have that view that you have in that respect. I think that's the very important distinction that needs to be made.
And we are really over on time.
We are, and it's killing me not to talk. So
I know.
I better
I'm
not.
sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
But in regards to opening up the comments,
Yes.
We are on YouTube, and we have the full ability of the comment section below. So let us know your ideas on this subject, any other subject that we've talked about. You have ideas for topics? You have anything that you want to hear
Anyone you want to hear
about?
from?
Anyone you want to hear from? Yeah, perfect. Leave it in the comment section down below. We read through every comment. We're a small channel at this point.
Very true.
Share us with your friends if you enjoyed. Trying to get the word out there that you are loved and you are accepted, even if normal church isn't your
forte,
isn't your cup of tea.
100%.
So for all of us here at Church is Stupid,
comma but.
I am Andy.
I'm Elijah.
I'm Ruth.
And we hope that you have a happy holidays.